I just see that too often. So hopefully we do have some progress in the next year or so, and hopefully this debate and this issue can be brought to Stormont instead of kind of having proxy arguments through the Westminster. And yeah, we just need a bit of leadership in Northern Ireland, and just to show that we can have discussions regarding big issues like this instead of having tit for tat, tribal arguments in Stormont. So yeah, this today is 650 days since we last have a functioning government, which is just it's mind numbing. It just annoys me so much, and yeah, there just doesn't seem to be an end to this stalemate that we have going on. Like I said before, that we deserve better movement, it seems to have died a death, and potentially, I just can't see us getting a government back together before Brexit happens, unless Brexit's delayed by another 2 years or whatever it's been mentioned. But not much is going to happen over a Christmas period at all. And then I could even see that if the government is formed in January or February, something regarding Brexit causing more stalemate or more attrition. So there's so much work to be done, but it just doesn't seem like it's started, or the urgency just doesn't seem there. It seems to be like a secondary thing for the British government, given what's going on with Brexit and everything. So, I think they're happy enough just to have civil servants kind of rule the roost while Brexit negotiations and everything are going on. So we will see. I say every podcast, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks we do see some movement, but it just doesn't seem likely, to be honest. So the last thing I wanted to chat about is the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of the Shankill bomb, which was earlier this week. So some people may not know, if you're from outside of Northern Ireland, or haven't studied the history of Northern Ireland that well, but 25 years ago a bomb exploded on the Shankill Road in West Belfast, so predominantly loyalist Protestant area. So the bomb exploded in a fish shop on a Saturday afternoon and killed 9 people, including the bomber, the IRA bomber. So this week there was a number of remembrance ceremonies, just to remember those that died. I wasn't even one when this happened, so I was born in December 1992, and I believe while my mum was pregnant with me, there was one of the biggest IRA bombs, which was the forensics bombing. The REC forensics unit up in Newton Breda exploded and ruined a few houses in the estate that I lived in, and absolutely ruined a church that my mum actually worked in as well, but wasn't working at that time. So that was probably my closest, I know, the closest event to me regarding like a bombing. But yeah, there was a BBC documentary hosted by Stephen Nolan that went out earlier in the week, and I only got the opportunity to watch it yesterday. So it spoke to the victims and families of those who had died, and it was just such a heartbreaking watch. Again, this is something that kind of personalizes things a bit more. It's very easy to read a paragraph and says that over 3,000 people died in Northern Ireland, and it's very easy just to read it, and that's all it is, a number. It's the same thing as well with, like, I don't know about anybody else, but like when you see the numbers of 2,000 odd people or more died at 9/11, but you don't actually think about the individual people that died. You just think, oh, that's awful, X amount of people have died. But this documentary, I felt, was great, and in showing the stories and the families of those people who had died, which I think is just so important for every generation in Northern Ireland to watch and kind of get a grasp on. there's a book called Lost Lives. I think it's the victims and Lost Lives, the victims of the Troubles. I think the name of the book is, but it documents every single death in Northern Ireland during the Troubles and gives a bit of background and a bit of story about the person who had died and how they were killed and everything. And I had that out of the library for a bit, and I read probably 20 or 30 pages of it, and it's just so difficult to read. But it does bring it home that these were normal people going about their lives. Many, going to the shop, or many were just sitting in their house, yet were killed. When they really shouldn't have been. They were kind of their deaths were a byproduct of a ridiculous conflict that took too many lives. But this documentary I found was very well documented and sensitive mostly throughout the show. It was a bit awkward and uncomfortable at times because Stephen Nolan pressed for the gory details too much, I think. One of the victims and one of the first people that were on the scene was saying what happened and everything, and was talking about lifting rubble off, and Steve Nolan was just prodding a bit too much, asking, and what did you see and what was it like, and you were carrying the body, what did it feel like, and things like that, which I felt was a bit unnecessary. But mainly I thought it was a very well done documentary, and it focused mainly on the innocent victims, which I think was absolutely the right thing. Obviously one of the bombers, Jared Begley, died, and Sean Kelly was another IRA volunteer that also died, he didn't die, he was injured, and his story was a bit of an interesting one as well, because he was pulled out of the rubble and put into an ambulance with some of the people that were also injured by the bomb that he had put down. It's just such a difficult and complex one. Jared Begley, I think, was a young man, but you still need to have, I just can't fathom someone walking into a shop with a bomb, knowing that there was maybe about 20 or 30 people in that shop, that bomb was going to go off and injure them. And even out on the Shankill Road, there probably would have been, a very busy street, and people were injured, and it's just difficult to kind of think of, because there's so much damage and destruction happening there, and there just doesn't seem to be any care of life whatsoever. The IRA intended to blow up that fish shop because above it was a UDA office that was used by Johnny Adair frequently, and I think they had thought that there was a meeting happening that day. But even at that, that shop was going to be busy anyway. It wasn't going to be closed. It was probably one of the busiest days for that shop, and the owner and everything was there as well. So it was just there's just no way of condoning that whatsoever. And some might argue, and I probably agree to an extent, that the bombers were victims in the sense that they were victims of their own circumstances, and there was hundreds of people that went out and joined the paramilitaries because that was what they felt was right. But there was thousands and thousands of people who didn't. There was thousands of people who thought, no, I'm not going to go out and kill an innocent person, or no, I'm not going to plant a bomb under somebody's car. And we just need to remember that as well. Yes, awful that so many young people were kind of corralled and felt that it was the right thing that they were doing. But the people we need to remember here are the victims of this bombing and the victims of all bombings and killings during the Troubles. I think after the Shankill bombing, there was 9 Catholics and nationalists that were killed. So those people need to be remembered as well. My heart just bleeds for all the families of the victims of the Troubles, because where did that get us? All these people died, but for what? There's just so many stories throughout the Troubles where they're absolutely would break your heart. There was one, I think it was Patrick Rooney, was a young boy who was lying in bed one night, and I think the RUC or the army were shooting on out on the street against, I think it was protesters or something, but one of the bullets went through, hit the window, and killed him instantly, and he was only like a 7 or 8 year old child. But yeah, a lot of people like to, I don't know, try and blank out the history of the Troubles in Northern Ireland and look more to the future, but I think you need to kind of look back and remember those people that died and use that as, a reason and a tribute not to go back to those days, and to make sure that we have a Northern Ireland where it's peaceful, and we end segregation, and we end this ridiculous division that we have between people who are basically the same. We had this violence going on, religious violence, when the people in the Short Strand are the same as the people on the other side of the wall, and it's the same up in the Falls and the Shankill. These people have the same economic struggles, and yes, maybe culturally they have some differences, but it's just crazy. But recently as well, over the past week, there was a commemoration. I think it took place yesterday for Jared Begley, the bomber that died, and Sinn Féin attended it. And after watching that documentary, like I'll be honest, I cried for about 5 minutes after watching it. It just hit me really hard. I don't know if it's the compassion I have for other people, or just it's just hard not to cry and weep after seeing people's opinions and stories about what happened on the day and the people they have lost. I just felt so sorry for them. But yeah, yesterday there was a commemoration for Jared Begley, and Sinn Féin attended it, and it just made me so frustrated and angry, because yes, the family of Jared Begley have the right to remember him, absolutely, but we're trying to move forward in Northern Ireland as well, and we've got the biggest nationalist party in the country going to attending the commemoration of somebody who killed 9 people, including children. It's completely insensitive, and it's so hypocritical as well of Sinn Féin, and also it's hypocritical of the DUP as well, but for the same reason that Sinn Féin would always criticise the DUP for attending marches, commemorating Brian Robinson, for example, up at the Shankill area, which happens every year. Yet, they're attending IRA funerals and IRA commemorations, which just, I don't know, it's just completely insensitive. We should be remembering those people who died and not commemorating those who were the perpetrators of the trouble in Northern Ireland. And that goes for both sides as well. Loyalist paramilitaries were absolutely awful as well and killed a number of people during the Troubles. Those people shouldn't be commemorated either, or kind of seen as martyrs, because they absolutely weren't martyrs. They were, perpetrators of violence in this country. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend everybody watches that documentary, and it kind of brought home a bit to me as well, the need for having this education of the Troubles in all of our schools. We need our young people growing up and just to know what happened, and to show them, oh, these are the stories of the people that died in the